guys, so welcome back to Take Me Home. This is episode 1, part C, with Sarah on how China lied and people died. And if you haven't seen part A and B, please go do that first. And now part C. Thanks, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. BBC just announced yesterday that YouTube is going to censor any material that deems that's against what the WHO, or the World Health Organization, puts out. Did you hear about that?
Briefly. I don't know how they're going to enforce this because it was the brilliant people at the World Health Organization who were insisting that closing your borders to other countries was not necessary, was some form of xenophobia, or there was going to have some sort of stigma. So I don't know why we would be taking their advice, and it looks like the BBC is bending the knee to the WHO, the WHO. I don't know why we would listen to this entity that has totally bought everything that the Chinese told them and then repeated it.
Especially when Taiwan should have been the second most infected country in the world, right? Because there are connections with China. But Taiwan, with the way the history of their country, they realized their most recent elected president there, who's a female, she was just elected, and so as soon as this happened, she said, nope, we're not going to, and they're not affiliated with the WHO. So
No,
they
they're
didn't
not with
listen
the
to the
WHO.
CCP.
At the behest of the CCP, Taiwan is not in the WHO, but they cut off travel from China on January 23rd. They were the first country to.
Okay.
To
so they were the first country. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now the last time I looked, it was 395 cases and 6 deaths or something like that. Incredibly low. Incredibly low. Yeah. And I think there's like a little over 23 million people there. And they're right on top of each other too. And I've always was told, I was recently told by a neighbor of mine who travels around the world for his company. He told me personally, he said, if you really want to know about Chinese culture, you need to go to Taiwan, not China. And he mentioned the museum there in I forgot the name of the country, but the museum that's kind of famous in Taiwan that actually has some of the artifacts that were taken away from people's homes even during Cultural Revolution during the 60s and things like that. Those things are not in China anymore, but you can go to Taiwan just because of the unique history there. And it's really interesting that because they said they don't want to have, they don't want to listen to the CCP and close that door with them, where it would be cargo or the people traveling back and forth, except for their college kids that were in China. That's where I think those numbers actually came from.
That's where they took
it very seriously. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, you separate yourself from the CCP, you're safe. You're definitely safe. they're showing that, and they're not associated with the WHO, so it's interesting. Because Pompeo...
So everyone who's not associated with the WHO is doing well, so maybe that's
the
path
CCP.
we should go on. Yeah, the people who are not affiliated with the CCP are all doing well. All the countries within China.
Oh, you know what? I do want to say this because, all right, I have to get this out, I think, because it is the CCP that's influencing the WHO, right, the WHO, because Tedros, I read that he was previously to being a director of the WHO. Tedros was the director of the Communist Party of Ethiopia. So maybe his standards of human life kind of go along with the Chinese Communist Party. What do you think, Sarah? So I'm not saying that the entire WHO is bad, but I would say that there are people in charge, then they do need to investigate. What do you think?
I'm sure there's great people working in the WHO, but the diversity hire at the top, he's not. He's a full-blown communist. He agrees wholeheartedly with whatever China says. So happy that we are now possibly going to be cutting off funding to them, possibly even permanently. I just saw an alert that Mike Pompeo had said we are potentially going to cut off funding permanently.
That's fine with me as long as those people are in charge, because I mean it's the same as dealing with the CCP. I mean, if it's, communism does exist out of the Chinese Communist Party of China, we know that, but it
Yeah.
obviously they're like seem to be have been the mother of communism. They're the ones that are the largest country that has retained communism during this whole time. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, and what 80 to 100 million people have died in peaceful times without war in China. It is beyond. Uh, yeah,
How did we get here that this is
speechless.
now? How did we get here with no question? Again, this goes back to our media. No one has
Right.
questioned this horrible, horrible regime, and they are now in charge of our entire supply chain, including our medicines. I mean, you're right. 100 million
Yes.
people dead when there's no war. Okay, why did anyone think this is a swell place to open my business? And why was there no one in the media who was questioning this? And it's just beyond.
Yeah, even if it was a safe place to make your medicine, why would you have medicine being made in another country? It just doesn't make any sense. And I think the media has got to have something to do with money. All of this has to do with money,
Yeah. Well,
unfortunately.
it has to. Yeah, it's all down to
It's
money. I mean, after the vaccine scandal in, was it 2008, the vaccine scandals in China where they had basically faked the vaccines and it killed a bunch of children. Why was that not, full stop? Okay, no more medicines here. Just sanitation alone is a reason to just go there, look around, and think, okay, I don't know if I want to build a factory here because how am I going to maintain quality control? How am I going to know whether they're following protocol and keeping everything clean and sterilized? I don't, it's after having lived in China, I don't, I try to avoid buying anything made in China.
Well, I think that's a wonderful place to stop for today, Sarah. I think that's a wonderful thing to leave our audience with. I think that's something that we can do, and something tangible we can try to do and be mindful of. So
Yeah.
um, let's continue part two. And until then, Sarah, thanks, and give the kids a hug, okay?
Thank you.